Dear colleague, I would like to present you the main results of the research deep learning of the neural networks using genetic algorithms. The purpose of the research is to develop the scientific and methodological foundation of learning neural networks using genetic algorithms. As you know, an artificial neural network is a set of interconnected neurons. The transfer functions of all neurons in the network are fixed, and the weight are parameters of the network and can change. Some neuron inputs are labeled an external inputs of the network, and some outputs are labeled an external outputs of the network. Thus, the work of the neural network is to transform the input vector into the output vector, and this transformation is given by the weights of the network. Almost any problem can be reduced to a problem solved by a neural network. At the same time, the construction of the artificial neural network is solved in two stages: choosing the type of the network, selection of the weights of the network. In the first stage, the following should be determined: what neurons we want to use, how they should be connected to each other, what to take as the network inputs and outputs. At first glance, this problem seems unsolved, but it isn't necessary to invent a neural network from scratch. There are dozens of different neural network architectures, and the effectiveness of the many of them has been proven mathematically. At the second stage, the most difficult task is solved. It's necessary to teach the selected network, that is, choose such values of its weights so that the network works as required. For many architectures, special learning algorithms have been developed that allow to adjust the weights of the network in a certain way. However, for complexes, artificial neural networks architectures, solving the problem requires further research. Solving the problem of deep learning of neural networks is especially relevant. Analysis of recent research and publications shows that depending on the functions performed by neurons in the network, three types can be distinguished: input neurons, output neurons, intermediate neurons. In most neural models, the type of neurons is related to its placement in the network. In the process of functioning of the network, the input vector is transformed into the output vector. That is, some process of information is carried out. The process of functioning of a neural network and the set of actions it can perform mainly depends on the values of synaptic connections. That's why, having determined the structure of the network corresponding to the chosen problem area, the optimization of the weighting coefficients in real time in a genome task, its ability to function qualitatively and adequately depends on how effectively the neural neurons training will be performed. The result of adding is shown on the slide. The main functional purpose of the artificial neural networks is the transformation of input signals into output signals. In this case, the neural network is presented as a multi-dimensional function. Experiments of learning neural networks have shown that known methods of local and global optimization require a significant number of learning steps, are sensitive to the accuracy of calculation, require a significant number of additional variables. Therefore, the research and development of new methods is urgent task training of neural network. Therefore, there is a need to use such approaches, which would not have the mentioned disadvantages. Genetic algorithm stands out among optimization mathematical devices in the context of the given task. The purpose of the work is to develop the scientific and methodological foundation of learning neural network using genetic algorithms. To achieve the goal, the following tasks were solved: to justify The approach to learning neural network using genetic algorithms. To solve the optimization problem of learning using the genetic algorithm on the example of forecasting the time series of temperature of the natural environment by the method of shortest descent. Research materials and methodology you can see on this slide. When learning a neural network, the problem of error minimization is set number 2. If the network doesn't make errors, that is the goal of learning neural network is the task of finding the minimum of error function. In order to increase the reliability of decisions made on the basis of the neural network, it's necessary to investigate alternative optimization algorithms that allow finding the global extreme. Therefore, there is a need to use such approaches that wouldn't have the indicated disadvantages. The considered genetic optimization algorithms are the most promising in this regard. To minimize the learning error of neural network based on genetic algorithms, each variant of the vector of weighting coefficients is matched with some chromosome, presented in the form of the bit string. In the selection process, a directed search is made for chromosomes that provide the extreme of a given objective function. The neural network learning error function is used in the neural network training procedure. The concept of learning neural network when using a genetic algorithm is in contrast to traditional learning methods has a different meaning. Learning here consists in applying genetic operators to the genotype of the vector. That is, to a chromosome in the training sample serves to calculate the learning error of the neural networks with specific values of the weighting coefficient. The scheme of the genetic algorithm of the learning neural network procedure is presented on this slide. When solving the problem of forecasting the time series of temperature of the neural environment, an appropriate neural networks were synthesized where the input and output values are the temperature values. To implement the learning algorithm of the neural network with the help of genetic algorithms, it will use the network with the smallest errors. Architecture of neural networks forecasting of temperature time series is presented on this slide. The parameters of solved problem are the weighting coefficient. To minimize the learning error of the neural network based on the genetic algorithm, we will match each variant of the vector of weighting coefficient with a chromosome present in the form of a bit string. Symbolic representation of fixed variable value in a binary code is shown on this slide. Symbolic notation of the solution vector is presented on this slide. A binary combination is taken as a gen that determines the fixed values of the parameter in a binary code, and the smallest indivisible unit amenable to evolution is a person. The chromosome that has specified values of alleles its loci is called a genotype that contains all the hereditary genetic information of a person. The finite set of the admissible genotypes is a gene pool. The assessment of the fitness of chromosomes in the population will be determined by calculating the membership function for each chromosome of this population. The assessment of the fitness chromosomes in the population will be determined by calculating on the member functioning for each chromosome of this population. The fitness function always takes a non-negative value in addition to solve the optimization problem that function needs to be minimized. A collection of individuals forms a population. The goal of population evolution is to increase the average value of the membership function of the population. Thus, the optimization procedure using the genetic algorithm iterative as across the two stages: the synthesis of new chromosomes, the selection of chromosomes, and a new population. The process continues until the optimal solution and the given number of generations are obtained. The solution of the problem corresponds to the chromosome with the minimum value of the membership function. The optimal weighting coefficient of the multilayer perceptron type neural network with two neurons in the hidden layer were determined using a genetic algorithm with the following parameters that are presented on this slide. The obtained results show that the speed of approaching the extremum is high and increases with the increase in the number of populations. It's also possible to draw a conclusion about the low percentage of experiments in that exact value or the minimum of obtained, depending on the total number of runs of the genetic algorithm, that is, on the number of population. Analyzing the projections of time series of temperature, it should be noted that a neural network relatively correctly predicted its degrees, increase, and stabilization. When forecasting a day ahead, in general, there is an increase in the accuracy of the forecast of a neural network using a genetic algorithm compared to a conventional neural network. Though the following conclusions are experiments of learning neural networks showed that known methods of local and global optimization require a significant number of learning steps. In most cases, they make it possible to find a local rather than a global extremum. That's why the search and development of new methods of learning neural networks is a joint task. In order to increase the reliability of discussions made on the basis of the neural network, it's necessary to investigate alternative optimization algorithms that allow finding the global extremum. The genetic optimization algorithms are the most promising in the regard. The scientific and methodological foundation of learning neural network are developed in the paper. The study of the effectiveness of the application of the genetic algorithm to optimize the function and deep learning of neural network in operation established the perspective of such an approach for biotechnical complexes that are exposed to external disturbances. Thank you for your attention.